get to come in? All right. Well, I brought mine in this way. Of course. Yeah. Good morning.
To get an escort from Mitch. Put share my food with it. Yes. Oh my gosh, I need to take this.
I'm saying that we're all in the same area.
morning. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing all of us here together today. I pray that everyone has confidence to speak in front of all of our friends and family. Give our audience the ability to listen calmly and respectfully. We know that you will guide everyone to be their best self. I lastly ask that you calm everyone's nerves and everything runs smoothly. Amen.
Amen.
Please welcome our first speaker, Jack Bowden, who is speaking about oysters.
Beneath the waves along the eastern coast of the United States lives a hidden shellfish that protects shorelines, supports wildlife, and keeps water clean: oysters. Oysters are bivalve mollusks, which means they have two shells. The eastern oyster lives along most of the United States Atlantic coast and Gulf of Mexico, where they grow on top of each other to create structures called oyster reefs. These shellfish are considered a coastal delicacy and keystone species in coastal culture and the economy. They filter water, provide habitat for animals, protect aquatic plants and shrubs from erosion, and provide jobs and income for coastal communities. Even though oysters provide many benefits for the environment and economy, over 85% of their habitat has been lost due to pollution and overharvesting. This decline leads to more pollution, increased erosion, and the destruction of habitat for fish and other marine life. Although this is a serious problem, many organizations are working hard to restore oyster populations. Oysters may seem small and unwanted, but they play a much larger role in the environment than many people realize. One of the most important jobs oyster performs is limiting coastal levels. According to Ocean Exchange, an adult oyster can filter up to 50 gallons of water per day, removing excess nutrients, sediments, and other pollutants. By filtering out harmful nutrients, oysters can help reduce algae blooms. Too much algae can block sunlight and lower oxygen levels in the water, which harms fish and other marine life. By reducing algae growth, oysters help keep marine ecosystems clean and healthy. Oyster reefs also protect coastlines from erosion. When strong storms and waves hit the shore, they can cause serious damage to beaches and coastal areas. This threatens both wildlife and people who live near the coast. Ocean Exchange explains, beyond their underwater contributions, oysters are instrumental in protecting shorelines from erosion. Oyster reefs act as natural barriers, absorbing wave energy and reducing the impact of storms and rising sea levels on coastal communities. Oyster reefs also help protect underwater plants, such as sea grasses, which stabilize the ocean floor and provide food and shelter for marine animals. Oyster reefs create important habitats for many species. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration states, oyster reefs can create important habitat for hundreds of species. Organisms like mussels, barnacles, and sea anemones settle, creating abundant food sources for commercially valuable fish. Many young fish, called fry, use oyster reefs as nurseries after they hatch. These reefs provide protection from predators and small prey. At the same time, adult fish hunt for food around oyster reefs, making them active and important parts of the food web. Overall, oyster reefs are essential habitats where marine life thrives. Oysters also have a positive impact on the economy. In North Carolina alone, oyster-related sales generate tens of millions of dollars each year and support many local jobs. For coastal communities, oyster harvesting and restoration provides income and helps support small businesses, such as restaurants and seafood markets. Studies have shown that oyster restoration also provides economic benefits because healthy reefs protect shorelines and improve water quality, which saves money in the long run. Money earned from oyster industries can be reinvested in the restoration projects, creating a cycle of environmental and economic benefits. Despite their importance, oyster reefs are one of the most threatened marine habitats on Earth. Oysters are at risk because of pollution, unsustainable harvesting methods, and overharvesting. Unsustainable harvesting methods, such as dredging and tawing, can be very harmful to oyster reefs. These methods remove large numbers of oysters from reefs and damage the reef structure itself. When living oysters are pulled off reefs, the entire structure can collapse. This destruction can take decades to recover from, and sometimes reefs never fully return to their original size. Runoff from farms, cities, and industries also harm oyster populations. This runoff can lower salinity levels and add sediment and pollutants to water. While healthy oyster populations can filter much of this pollution, declining numbers make it harder for reefs to recover and keep the water clean. Pollution creates a cycle in which fewer oysters leads to dirtier water, which then makes it harder for oysters to survive. Overharvesting is another major problem. When too many oysters are removed, reefs become thin and flat along the ocean floor. Oysters grow and reproduce best when the reefs are tall and closer to the water column, where there's more oxygen and food. Flattened reefs make it harder for oysters to survive and reproduce, creating a cycle that is difficult to break. Fortunately, many restoration efforts are working to rebuild oyster populations. These efforts include shell recycling, spat planting, and building artificial reefs called reef balls. Shell recycling is one of the most important parts of oyster restoration. Organizations such as the Oyster Recovery Partnership recycle tens of thousands of bushels of shells each year. Recycled shells are returned to the water to provide a hard surface for young oysters to attach and grow to. Adding shells also increases the height of reefs, which helps oysters grow and reproduce more successfully. Spat planting is another important restoration method. Spat are young oysters that are not yet attached to the surface. Scientists place spat on recycled shells or reef balls to help start new reefs or rebuild damaged ones. Reef balls, which are mesh bags of concrete structures filled with shells, are placed in the water to give oysters a place to grow. Over time, these structures become living reefs that support many species. Many organizations work hard to restore and protect oyster populations. Groups such as Oyster Zone, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and the University of Georgia Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant conduct research, educate the public, and grow oysters for their own projects. Their work helps bring attention to the importance of oysters and help support long-term recovery efforts. Oysters may seem small and important, but they play a much larger role in the environment than most people realize. The next time you enjoy this shellfish, remember that oysters provide far more benefits than just a meal. They help protect our coast and keep our oceans healthy. Thank you. Please welcome Benson Smith, who is speaking about Lake Bottom Park.
Many Columbus residents use Lake Bottom Park every day, but most people do not know the history behind this familiar place. For example, did you know that Lake Bottom Park is used by over 1,000 homicides each day? A Midtown survey taken in 2019 found found that Lake Bottom is one of the most heavily used parks in Columbus. People from all areas of the city visit the park daily. Whether you are going for a walk, getting active with friends, watching a baseball game, or just relaxing outside, Lake Bottom Park has something for everyone. From its scenic trails to its fascinating historic markers, the park offers both fun and learning. Even though many of us pass through Lake Bottom without thinking twice, this park has a long, interesting past that helps explain why it is still such an important part of Columbus today. Lake Bottom Park has not always been called by that name. Its original name was Wildland Park, and it was founded in 1890 by John Flournoy's Railroad Company. Flournoy was a local businessman in Columbus who invested in the park for more than just fun. He hoped that by creating an exciting public space, more people would move into surrounding neighborhoods and ride his streetcars, which would help his real estate business grow. At the time, Wildwood Park was considered a popular destination for families and visitors. The park featured 4 small islands connected by arched bridges with the lake as the centerpiece. People could swim at the bathhouse, go boating or fishing, and enjoy picnics on benches and under shelters. There was even a stage where bands, dancers, and orchestras performed for crowds. Because of these attractions, many people traveled by streetcar to visit the park, which helped Flournoy's business succeed. As Columbus continued to grow, the city decided to buy the park in 1924 for the new location of Columbus High School. Before moving to Wildwood, Columbus High School's original building was what is now the Cunningham Building at St. Luke's School. When the new high school campus was built, part of the park was used for school buildings while the rest of the land remained open for public recreation. Around the same time, health concerns began to change the park's landscape. Yellow fever was spreading in the region, and medical knowledge was limited compared to what we know today. Because mosquitoes spread the disease, city leaders believed the lake was a danger. To reduce the risk, they decided to drain the lake. After the lake was removed, Wildwood Park slowly became known as Lake Bottom Park, named after the low land where the lake once was. This decision completely changed the look of the park and turned it into more of the open green space we recognize today. In the years that followed, the area around Lake Bottom continued to develop. In 1930, the city of Columbus built St. Elmo's School nearby. For many years, St. Elmo served as a neighborhood school for local children. In 1990, it became a school for the gifted students. Next to the school, the St. Elmo Shopping Center was built. This village-style shopping center had 3 storefronts and is considered Columbus's first true shopping center. Another important addition to the park was the Girl Scouts Little House, which was built in 1948 and opened in 1949. For decades, this small building has been a gathering space for Girl Scout meetings and activities, making Lake Bottom an important community space for youth groups as well. Today, Lake Bottom Park is divided into 2 sections, Wildwood and Maricopa. The park includes basketball courts, tennis courts, football fields, baseball and softball fields, and a track. Playground equipment is used by kids every day, and the trail around the park's perimeter is popular with walkers, runners, and families with strollers. Lake Bottom is also home to Beach Little League Baseball. Since it was founded in 1952, Beach Little League has kept its original team names, making it a special and lasting tradition in Columbus. Many families have memories of playing games, cheering from the stands, or spending long evenings at the fields. For students who attend or will attend Columbus High School, Lake Bottom is even more meaningful because it sits right next to their school and becomes a part of daily life. Lake Bottom Park is more than just a place to exercise or hang out with friends. It is a reminder of how Columbus has grown and changed over time. What began as a private park meant to support a business became a public space shaped by schools and community needs. Today, Lake Bottom provides a safe and welcoming place for people to relax, play, and stay active. It is easy to take this park for granted because it is always there, but knowing its history helps us appreciate it more. The next time you walk the trail, sit on the grass, or watch a game, remember that you are standing in a place that has been bringing people together for over 100 years. Thank you. Please welcome Buck Bryant, who is speaking about Monopoly.
true story behind Monopoly is not just about gay marriage. It's about criticizing greed and one woman whose idea changed the world, even though she did not get the credit she deserved. Elizabeth Lizzie McGee was the original creator of the game that would later become Monopoly. She was born in 1866 in Malcolm, Illinois. Her mother was a homemaker and her father was a newspaper publisher. McGee was not only creative, but also intelligent and determined. She was a designer, a feminist, an engineer, and even a writer. She also invented a device that made typewriting more efficient. During a time when women did not have many rights, McGee stood out. She believed strongly in fairness and economic justice. In 1903, McGee finished developing a board game called the Landlord's Game. She created the show disapproval of wealthy businessmen in her area in the early 1900s. Her goal was not to celebrate the rich. Instead, she wanted to teach about people about how unfair monopolies could be. She believed when one person controls everything, others suffer. Because many people were creating board games during this time, McGee applied for a patent for the Landlord's Game in 1903. In her patent, she described the board with corner spaces in this struggle. In 1904, her patent was officially granted. This made her one of the few women in the free suffrage era to hold multiple patents. That alone was a huge accomplishment. McGee and two colleagues formed the Economic Game Company to reduce and sell the Landlord's Game. At first, the game spread slowly, but as people began to play, they began changing small details and creating their own versions. The game started to take a life of its own. Over time, different versions were made and shared from group to group. In the 1930s, a struggling salesman named Charles Darrow was introduced to the game while playing with friends. He liked it and decided to create his own version. In 1934, he tried to sell his version, now called Monopoly, to Parker Brothers, a major game company. They rejected it at first. Darrow did not give up. He started producing and selling copies himself. After selling more than 5,000 copies, he approached Parker Brothers again in 1935. This time, they agreed to sell his game. Monopoly quickly became a huge success. However, Parker Brothers soon realized there was a problem. Darrow gave inconsistent answers about how he came up with the idea, and at the same time, many people reported they were playing with the game long before 1934. George Parker, the founder of Parker Brothers, became concerned. In 1935, he came out of retirement to investigate. Parker discovered Elizabeth McGee in her earlier patent for the Landlord's Game. He offered her $500, about $12,000 in today's cash, for the rights to her game. He also promised to give her credit in her role in its creation. McGee accepted this deal. Unfortunately, her name was largely left out of Monopoly's history for decades. It was not until 1974, during a lawsuit filed by college professor Ralph Ansbach, that the truth about her role became widely known. An interesting part about Monopoly's history is its connection to Atlantic City, New Jersey, since many properties are based on real streets from the 1930s. The game had 8 color groups with the boardwalk and park place and the dark blue sets as the most expensive spaces, just like they are known for those valuable properties in Atlantic City. The 4 railroads in the game, Reading, Pennsylvania, B&O, and Short Line, are also based on real lines that connected to Atlantic City. These railroads symbolize powerful business empires, reinforcing Elizabeth McGee's original message about how monopolies can control systems like transportation and property. Today, Monopoly is one of the most famous board games in the world. Millions of people play it every year. Most people do not realize that its original purpose was to criticize monopolies, not promote them. Elizabeth McGee's life teaches that amazing ideas can change the world, even if the creator is left in the shadows for a time. She is a woman ahead of her era, using creativity to speak out justice and fairness. So next time you pass go and collect $200, remember the woman who started it all. Behind the colorful money and property cards is the story of Elizabeth McGee, a creative thinker who proved that one powerful idea can last for generations. Thank you. Please welcome Nancy Palvita, who is speaking about the Wizard of Oz movie.
One moment the world is bright, the next it is bursting with color. That scene from The Wizard of Oz amazed audiences in 1939 and helped change film forever. Based on L. Frank Baum's novel, the movie follows Dorothy and Toto into the land of Oz. Although it was not an instant hit, its bold use of color, music, and storytelling in one of the most influential films in history. Before the movie was even made, there had been talks of turning Wagner's novel into a film. At the time, most movie studios created films to distract people from the hard economic times of the Great Depression. Colorized movies were rare because they were expensive and complicated to make, and made comic books still struggling. Technicolor cameras were also limited in numbers, so studios often had to rent them or wait until one became available. Color films existed before the Wizard of Oz, including Disney's Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, which proved fantasy can be profitable. MGM, one of the largest production companies at the time, bought the rights to Wizard of Oz in 1938, hoping to compete with Disney's growing popularity and create a new kind of fantasy for its audiences. The Wizard of Oz became one of the most famous early uses of 3D script Technicolor. The film used special cameras and filters that captured red, green, and blue colors at the same time. According to the Smithsonian Institute, this Technicolor process required 3 separate strips of film to record each color, which were later combined to create bright, realistic color on the screen. The cameras were large and noisy, so they were enclosed in special cases to help muffle sound. The film stock used at the time was also highly flammable, so safety was a serious concern. Because the cameras needed intense light to capture color properly, actors had to perform under extremely bright and hot lights, which made filming uncomfortable and even painful at times. Costume designers were encouraged to use bold colors so the film would be vibrant on the screen. For example, in the original book, Dorothy's shoes were sewn, but were changed to a primary red to show off the full power of Technicolor and highlight the difference between the dull of Kansas and the colorful land of Oz. Interestingly, newer versions of the story, such as Wicked, returned to the silver shoes because MGM swore into the rights to Dorothy's later design. Dorothy's shoes became one of the most famous symbols in movie history, but they were not always designed with the audience to turn on. Early designs include curled, fairy tale style toes, but these were removed because they did not match Dorothy's simple, farm-girl look. Dorothy's blue and white dress was also designed to make her seem younger, as some thought the actor Judy Garland too old for the role of a young girl. In addition, many parts of the original book were changed or removed for the movie. For example, scenes where the Tin Man kills wolves and where insects attack the scarecrow were considered too violent for children and were cut. A musical number called the Jitterbug was also removed because test audiences felt the movie was too long. Even though the scene was cut, the Wicked Witch still references the Jitterbug when she talks about when Dorothy and runs out. The filmmakers decided that every song in the movie should move the story forward, which helped make the movie feel more meaningful. Many people do not realize how many visual illusions were used in The Wizard of Oz. In the famous scene where Dorothy and her friends skip down the Yellow Brick Road toward Emerald City, the background is actually a painted backdrop, not a real landscape. Another impressive addition happens when Dorothy opens the door from black and white Kansas into colorful Oz. The Kansas scenes were filmed in black and white, while the Oz scenes were filmed in Technicolor. Surprisingly, this entire scene was filmed in color. The inside of the house and Dorothy's doll were painted in sepia tones to look black and white, creating the illusion of color suddenly appearing. According to Professor Jones from the Columbus State University Theater Department, these illusions help remind the audience that Oz is part of Dorothy's imagination and dream. This idea is also shown through the Cowardly Lion, who is clearly a man in costume. While modern movies use computer graphics to create realistic animals, the Wizard of Oz used simple costumes, which adds to the dreamlike quality of the film. The filming process was difficult and sometimes dangerous for the actors. The bright lights made for Technicolor made sets extremely hot. Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch of the West, suffered serious burns from a special effects fire by bomb. She had to stop filming for weeks to recover. Buddy Ebsen, the original Tin Man, became very sick from breathing in aluminum powder used in his makeup and was hospitalized. He was replaced by Jack Haley, who also had health problems, but aluminum paste used in his makeup caused an eye infection. These accidents show how risky filming can be at the time, especially when new technology is being used. When The Wizard of Oz was first released, it was not intended. Although it made money, it barely made back its production cost of nearly $3 million, which was extremely expensive at the time. MGM was also releasing the movie Gone with the Wind that same year, which featured many famous actors and received more attention. Judy Garland was not yet an actress, though, which may have contributed to the movie's popularity at first. Even so, The Wizard of Oz won 2 Oscars, including Best Original Song for Over the Rainbow and Best Original Score. In 1956, CBS began airing The Wizard of Oz on television every year. This allowed new generations to watch the movie, and it slowly became a beloved family tradition. Over time, the film grew in popularity and became one of the most famous movies ever made. By taking risks with color, music, and fantasy storytelling, The Wizard of Oz helped set the stage for future films in Hollywood. What began as a movie that struck at the box office and eventually became one of the most iconic and beloved films in history. The world of film would not be the same without this inspiring and imaginative masterpiece. Thank you. Please welcome Caden Webb, who is speaking about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Imagine risking your life in one of the worst conflicts in history, only to return home to disapproval and hatred. The Tuskegee Airmen served in Europe and North Africa during World War II, fighting for a country that did not yet grant them equal rights. They served primarily in the 99th Fighter Squadron and the 332nd Fighter Group between 1941 and 1946. Despite racism, segregation, and doubt, the Tuskegee Airmen showed the world that courage and determination are more powerful than hatred and discrimination. TuskegeeAirmen.org emphasizes that the Tuskegee Airmen were initially the result of an experiment. President Franklin D. Roosevelt announced the Civilian Pilot Training Program on December 27, 1938. This program created 330 openings in 13 different colleges to train civilian pilots. The act officially passed on June 27, 1939, marking the first step towards the creation of the Tuskegee Airmen Program. The second major step came with the Selective Service and Training Act, which required men between the ages of 21 and 35 to register for the first ever peacetime draft in United States history. This included black men. However, many white Americans believed that black citizens were not intelligent or capable enough to serve as military pilots. Despite this discrimination, the War Department announced that the black Americans would be included in the Civilian Pilot Training Program. President Roosevelt selected Tuskegee, Alabama as a training site, specifically at Tuskegee Airfield. While some questioned the decision, the location would soon become historic. The first cadet classes included young men from across the United States. According to Tuskegee Museum, cadets came from cities such as Detroit, Michigan, New York City, and Chicago, Illinois. The first class was small, only 13 cadets, and just 5 completed the rigorous training. During the program, cadets studied navigation, meteorology, instruments, and flight mechanics. The program demanded excellence, discipline, and perseverance. One of the original 5 graduates was Colonel Benjamin O. Davis, Jr. He had already made history as the first African-American graduate of West Point in the 20th century. After serving at Fort Benning, Georgia, he was transferred to Tuskegee as an instructor and later became a key leader of the program. His father, Benjamin O. Davis, Sr., was one of only 2 black officers in the entire U.S. military at the time. Davis Jr.'s leadership would later prove essential to the success of the 99th Fighter Squadron and the 332nd Fighter Group. The Tuskegee Airmen trained and fought in several types of aircraft, but became most famous for flying the North American P-51 Mustang. According to History on the Net, the airmen admired the Mustang for its sleek design and impressive performance. What made their planes especially recognizable were the bright red tails, which earned the nickname Red Tails. As stated by Tuskegee Museum, 992 pilots graduated from the program. Nearly half served overseas in combat within the 99th Fighter Squadron and the 332nd Fighter Group. They completed more than 200 missions and flew over 15,000 sorties. A sortie refers to any time an aircraft takes off or lands, including both combat and training missions. Their success in escorting American bombers helped them earn the nickname Red Tail Angels. A popular legend claims that they never lost a bomber during combat missions. While this is not entirely true, they lost approximately 25 bombers. Their loss rate was significantly lower compared to many other escorts during World War II. Despite their outstanding performance overseas, the Tuskegee Airmen continued to face racism both during and after the war. They trained in segregated facilities and were often doubted by fellow servicemen. When they returned home, they encountered discrimination instead of gratitude. Still, their service has a lasting impact. According to Tuskegee Museum, their success influenced President Harry S. Truman to abolish segregation in the armed forces. In 1948, Truman signed Executive Order 9981, a officially desegregating the military. The Tuskegee Airmen also received numerous awards and commendations. According to HBC, these honors included Distinguished Flying Crosses, Purple Hearts, Air Medals, 1 Silver Star, and Soldier's Medals. Their most significant collective honor came on March 27, 2007, when they were awarded with the Congressional Gold Medal. This award not only recognized their military achievements, but also their impact on civil rights in America. The Tuskegee Airmen used courage, skill, and determination to prove their critics wrong. They faced prejudice at every stage of the journey, from training to combat to returning home. Yet they excelled in the 99th Fighter Squadron in the 332nd Fighter Group, building an extraordinary record of service. Their success challenged harmful stereotypes and opened doors for future generations of African American service members and pilots. The Tuskegee Airmen did not just fight one war. They fought two. One against enemies overseas and another against racism at home. Through both battles, they demonstrated that bravery has no color. Their legacy continues to inspire Americans today, reminding us that equality and opportunity are worth fighting for. Thank you. Please welcome Sarah Berry, who is speaking on W.C. Bradley.
Down Bradley Park Drive, visited the Columbus Museum, rode on a charcoal grill, fished with a Zebco rod, or worn Bradley's gear, then you have seen the legacy of William C. Bradley. His name is woven into streets, businesses, and landmarks all across Columbus, Georgia. What many people may not realize is that one businessman helped shape the economy, industry, and the community life of our hometown. Through banking, farming, manufacturing, river trade, and generous community giving, W.C. Bradley played a major role in making Columbus what it is today. William Clark Bradley was born in 1860 in Russell County, Alabama. When he was 22 years old, he moved to Columbus, Georgia. His father owned cotton plantations, so Bradley understood business and agriculture from a young age. After moving to Columbus, he worked for Bussey Goldsmith & Company at Cotton Breakers Firm. Eventually, Bradley and his brother-in-law bought the company. They expanded it by manufacturing fertilizer and adding a wholesale grocery department. In 1896, Bradley purchased the remaining interest in the firm and renamed it as the W.C. Bradley Company. Bradley's business success did not stop there. In the late 1800s, he became involved in river transportation as the general manager of Merchants and Planters Steamboat Line. These steamboats carried fertilizer, groceries, and other goods down the Chattahoochee River as far as Apalachicola, Florida. Bradley became one of the leading figures in the final 25 years of steamboat trade along the river. At a time when transportation was critical to economic growth, his leadership helped Columbus stay connected to markets across the region. In 1917, Bradley expanded into farming by purchasing plots of land south of Columbus. These properties became Bradley Farms, which grew into one of the largest farming operations in Georgia and remained active for decades. That same period showed how Bradley thought beyond local business. In 1919, he partnered with Ernest Woodruff and a group of investors to purchase the Coca-Cola Company for $25 million from the Camden family. Bradley played an important role in stabilizing Coca-Cola during a sugar shortage after World War I by helping secure loans. He also mentored Woodruff's son Robert, who later led Coca-Cola for many years. Bradley's involvement connected Columbus business leadership to one of the most famous companies in the world. Bradley was not only a businessman, he was also deeply committed to helping his community. In 1923, he donated his entire steamboat line and its operating capital to the Columbus Chamber of Commerce. During the Great Depression, when many businesses shut down, Bradley kept local textile mills and ironworks running even when profits were low. He believed that protecting jobs was more important than protecting his own wealth. He also quietly provided money to widows, children of employees, and families in need. His generosity helped many Columbus citizens survive during one of the hardest times in American history. Bradley also helped strengthen Columbus's banking system. In 1930, he and G. Gunby Jordan combined Third National Bank and Columbus Savings Bank to form Columbus Bank and Trust, now known as Synovus Pinnacle Bank. a strong local bank that meant that businesses could grow and families could buy homes. Today, banking continues to be a major part of Columbus's economy, and Bradley's early leadership played a key role in building that foundation. After Bradley's death in 1947, his legacy continued through his family. His grandson, William Bill Turner, eventually led the W.C. Bradley Company. Along with Lubbock Corn, Turner looked for new products to manufacture at the Columbus Iron Works facility. Their idea to produce charcoal grills led to the creation of charcoal, which later expanded into gas grills and outdoor cooking equipment. That company also later developed or acquired many other well-known national brands. These brands brought worldwide recognition to Columbus while providing jobs for local residents. Bradley's family also focused on giving back. The Bradley Turner Foundation was formed to support educational, cultural, and social service efforts in the Columbus area. His family's home, located on a 13-acre property on Lincoln Road, was donated in 1947 to the Muskogee County School District and became the site of the original school district offices, public library, and the Columbus Museum. A new museum building stands in that location today. Patrons can walk through the gardens once enjoyed by Bradley and his family. W.C. Bradley's influence still endures throughout Columbus. Businesses, banks, charitable foundations, and even street names reflect his lasting impact. He helped grow industry, protect workers during economic hardship, and invest in the community's future. Columbus did not become what it did overnight. It did because of leaders who believed in steady growth and service to others. W.C. Bradley did far more than build successful businesses. He helped shape the economy, culture, and identity of Columbus, Georgia. The next time you drive down Bradley Park Drive, remember the man whose vision and generosity helped build this community. His story shows how a determined leader can leave a lasting mark on his hometown. Thank you. Please welcome Enrique Medina, who is speaking about the Winter War of 1939.
In the freezing winter of 1939, a small nation of only 4 million people stood against one of the largest armies in the world that refused to surrender. From November 1939 to March 1940, Finland fought the Soviet Union in what became known as the Winter War. Although it only lasted a few months, the conflict gained worldwide attention because it looked like a clear David versus Goliath battle. The Soviet Union had more soldiers, more tanks, more weapons. Yet Finland's determination, smart tactics, and strong defenses allowed it to resist far longer than anyone expected. The Winter War that proved that even a small country can make a powerful enemy struggle for victory. Before the war began, the Soviet Union was worried about Nazi Germany's expansion in Europe. Germany was growing stronger, and the Soviet leaders feared that Finland might allow German troops near the port city, Soviet city of Leningrad, which was very close to Finland's border. To protect itself, the USSR demanded several things from Finland. So the Union wanted Finland to give up islands in the Gulf of Finland, allow Soviet troops to be stationed in Finland for 30 years, and give up land in the Brilliant Isthmus. In exchange, the USSR offered Finland twice as much land farther north, but this land was undeveloped and not very useful. Finland refused these demands because most of its defensive locations were also located in land in Soviet water. If Finland gave up that territory, it would be left without defenses. Many Finns also feared that if they agreed to these demands, the Soviets would simply ask for them later, possibly leading to annexation. The USSR at the same time had signed a non-aggression pact with Nazi Germany, which meant the Germans would not interfere. This gave the Soviets confidence to act. Negotiations failed. Finland began mobilizing its forces, preparing for invasion. On November 1930th, 1939, the Soviet Union attacked. Finland's forces included the Finnish National Army, Armed Reserves, Territorial Home Guard, and paramilitary Sittenband. Altogether, Finland could gather around 400,000 men. One of their biggest advantages was Mannerheim Line, 80 The defensive system made after General Karl Gustav von Mannerheim. This line was only a giant wall and network of lumber, trenches, and barbed wire. The natural obstacles built along the gully distance. Soviet Union began the war with around 120,000 soldiers, about 1,000 tanks and 600 artillery pieces. 3 Soviet armies led by Colonel Voroslav attacked the Mannerheim line. However, their advance through thick forests and along poor narrow roads quickly ran into serious problems. The Finland used several smart tactics with the first smaller size. One of these tactics was called the Monty tactic. And this strategy pushed soldiers of large Soviet units into smaller groups by blocking roads and surrounding them in force. Once isolated, these smaller groups were attacked and destroyed one at a time. Heavy Soviet tanks and trucks became trapped in the narrow forest roads, making them easy targets. Snipers were another powerful weapon for Finland. Finnish soldiers are skilled at camouflage and survival in Arctic conditions. One sniper in particular, Simo Haupai, became legendary. He was often considered the deadliest sniper in history. The Soviet troops feared him, and many Vikings blended into the snowy landscape. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union faced major leadership and training problems. Joseph Stalin, who had executed or imprisoned many of his experienced officers because he suspected them of treason. As a result, many Soviet commanders were inexperienced and poorly trained. Troops were not prepared for Arctic warfare either. They did not even have proper winter clothing. And unlike the Finnish soldiers, they did not use camouflage, which made them easy to stop against the snow. Even though Finland fought bravely, the Soviet Union had far more soldiers and equipment. Stalin eventually grew frustrated with Voroslav's failures and replaced it with General Semyon Timoshenko. Under new leadership, the Soviets launched much larger and better organized offensive. Soviet forces began by firing more than 300,000 artillery shells at Finnish positions, weakening their defenses. Then, with even more troops and tanks than before, they broke through the Mannerheim line. The sheer size of it was overwhelming. Finland was forced to retreat to its secondary defenses. Finland desperately hoped for help from other countries, but no major power came to their aid. Realizing they could not hold out much longer, Finnish leaders entered peace negotiations. In March 1940, the war ended with the Moscow Peace Treaty. Soviet terms were partially it had to give up the entire Guard isthmus, including its second largest city, Pulkovo, as well as several islands in foreign territories. About 400,000 Finnish civilians were forced to leave their homes and move deeper into Finland. As a result, Finland was able to remain independent, but suffered many losses. Many people lost their homes, jobs, and livelihoods. The bitterness and resentment towards the Soviet Union lasted for years. This tension contributed to the continuation of World War II. When Finland fought alongside Nazi Germany against USSR in an attempt to regain lost territory. In the end, the Winter War was a hollow victory for the Soviet Union. Although it gained land, it suffered major casualties. It exposed weaknesses in its military. For Finland, it was a gallant defeat. The country lost territory but kept its own independence and earned respect around the world for its bravery and determination. The Winter War shows that even a small nation can stand up to a much larger enemy. Although Finland could not win outright, its courage, smart tactics, and strong national spirit forced the world to pay attention. It proved that even David can make Goliath stronger and fight longer than anyone expected. Thank you. Please welcome Sam Bird, who is speaking about Jim Henson.
Think back to a time when you laughed at Kermit the Frog, learned your ABCs with Big Bird, or watched the Muppets cause chaos on TV. For over 50 years, millions of kids have grown up with Jim Henson's characters without realizing how much one person shaped their childhood. Jim Henson's imagination changed television and film, and his influence can still be seen today. His journey began in his early childhood. Continued through major movies and shows, and his legacy lives on long after his death. Jim Henson was born on September 24th, 1936. He grew up on a farm in Leland, Mississippi, a small town near the Mississippi River. When he was in 5th grade, his family moved to Hyattsville, Maryland, near Washington, D.C. At the time, television was still new, and only about 7,000 TVs existed in the country in 1946. But Henson was fascinated by it and wanted one badly. When he was 13, his family finally bought a television, which sparked his interest in entertainment. Henson also had a creative grandmother nicknamed Dear, who encouraged his imagination and supported his artistic interests. During the summer before college, a local TV station called WTOP needed puppeteers for a Saturday children's show called The Junior Morning Show. Although the show only lasted a few weeks, it gave Henson valuable experience working with puppets on television. He later attended the University of Maryland, where he took puppet classes and continued developing his skills. Soon after, a local NBC station gave him his own short puppet show called Sam and Friends. Henson only earned $5 per show, but the program helped him build confidence and creativity. He also found fast and inexpensive ways to make puppets. While experimenting with materials, he used part of his mother's old green coat to create a puppet that would become Kermit the Frog. The word Muppet came from combining the words puppet and marionette, showing how Henson liked to invent new ideas. While in puppet class, Henson had a classmate named Jane Neville who helped him with his early puppet shows. The two later married. After starting a family, Henson needed more work with his growing projects, so Jane stepped back to take care of their children. Around this time, Henson met Frank Osnowitz, better known as Frank Oz, who later became one of his most important creative partners. Henson also worked with Don Solon, who became the head Muppet builder and helped design many of the famous characters. Henson and his family moved to New York City, where he and Jane founded Muppets Inc. When Frank Oz turned 19, he officially joined Henson's team and became one of the main performers behind many Muppet characters. One of the first Muppets to become a star was Ralph the Dog, known for his deep voice and funny personality. In 1966, the Muppets appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show, which was one of the most popular TV shows at the time. This appearance helped the Muppets reach a national audience. Not long after, Henson was invited to work on Sesame Street, a children's educational show that taught millions of kids early learning skills. Henson created Big Bird, one of the first large Muppets to walk and interact with human actors on screen. While working on Sesame Street, Henson came up with the idea for a weekly Muppet comedy show. American TV networks rejected the idea, but British producer Lou Grade believed in it and helped produce The Muppet Show. The show featured a guest star each week and showed the Muppets running a theater filled with chaos and humor. The show became a huge success and introduced characters like Miss Piggy, who dreamed of fame and romance. The show was even broadcast in the Soviet Union, showing its worldwide popularity. After 5 seasons, Henson ended the show because he wanted to finish it while it was still popular. After The Muppet Show, Henson moved into filmmaking. Making the Muppet movie was especially challenging because the Muppets performed outdoors and even rode bikes, long before computer-generated imagery known as CGI existed. Even with these challenges, the movie became a hit. Henson continued making films such as The Great Muppet Caper and The Muppets Take Manhattan. He also worked on fantasy films such as The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. Henson's company even helped create Yoda for Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, with Frank Oz performing the character. He also produced TV shows such as Fraggle Rock and The Muppet Babies. Henson worked so much that he often did not spend as much time with his family as he wished. Later in his life, Henson began negotiating a deal to sell the Muppet characters to the Walt Disney Company, trusting that Disney would continue his legacy. Before the deal was completed, Henson became seriously ill with pneumonia and died on May 16, 1990. Memorial services were held in both New York and London, showing how loved he was around the world. He received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1991. His legacy continues through organizations such as the Jim Henson Company, which still produces projects based on his work, the Jim Henson Foundation, which supports puppetry arts, and the Jim Henson Legacy, founded by his family to honor his memory. Because of Jim Henson, generations of children grew up bringing positive values to the Muppets. Through his early beginnings, his films and shows, and the organizations that continue his work, Jim Henson's influence still entertains, educates, and shapes people's lives today. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for all for being here. Anyone who's ever given a speech before knows how scary and intimidating it can be. And these 8th graders have been working for months to overcome their nerves and to be able to get up here today. So can we give this group another round of applause? Families, guests, y'all welcome to come get a hug, get a picture. Everyone else, have a great day. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it is right.
All right.